let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. I didn't really want to do a video when the initial reveal trailer dropped because I didn't feel that there was enough to talk about, but now there's an additional trailer and we know lots more, so I want to discuss my current thoughts on what we've seen so far. I'd also genuinely be interested to hear what other people think in the comments. So 2 monsters were revealed, Doshugama and Chatacabra, a fanged beast and an amphibian. I think it's safe to say that we're back. There's also a small monster Leviathan, so Wilds is going to have unique monsters like Rise did. Doshugama has major Gosharag vibes, but his sheer size reminds me of Garen Golem. I'm really interested to see how the pack mechanics play out, since that's a big emphasis in the trailer, with the hunter battling multiple small bears and even leading the big one away. It would not shock me if this is something they've wanted to do for ages, as in make actual dedicated pack mechanics. When you look at the older games, there's a ton of monsters that have a bunch of little ones following them, but they never really matter much. Like, do you remember the Great Izuchi? His whole deal is that the 2 little ones copy and coordinate attacks together, but they end up dying in the crossfire of your attacks, and don't end up mattering much. Small monsters have always just been fodder for us to get random materials or raw meat, but maybe Wilds will make them into actual threats that we have to watch out for. Perhaps one will be easy to deal with on their own, but you actually have to be careful when the whole squad is there. The Chatacabra is seemingly the 3rd member of the Tongue Trio. We also saw another smaller version of him, but I don't know if he'll have pack mechanics too. Some other things in the trailer excited me. We saw a bunch of small monsters jumping Chatacabra, which I guess confirms pack turf wars. That could be really cool to see, especially with some of the bigger monsters. I'm kind of sad that it doesn't look like Palamutes are returning. I do really like having a dog, but the Sacreds looks really interesting. In the first trailer we saw he was capable of gliding, which was cool, but now we know a lot more about him. For example, he apparently works the same way Tail Riders did in Iceborne, and automatically takes you to the target. Initially when I read this, I thought scout flies were gone, and I was kind of happy. I've never really liked them, because I feel like if you rely on them too much, it makes it harder to actually know the maps. But no, it's a Tail Rider mechanic. The Palico has a scout fly cage on its head, so the mechanic probably still exists. The thing that everyone is excited about is the fact that you can have another weapon carried by the Sacred, which means seamlessly switching is possible during a hunt. That sounds really cool, and it even seems to be a dedicated jumping attack. It's kind of like the switch kill swap in a way. A problem I foresee is that when designing a set, I like to tailor it as much as possible to a specific weapon, with all the necessary skills. Dual swords need stamina management, lance needs guard and constitution, greatsword needs fast charge, and so on. But I feel like that's going to be harder to do if I want to account for a second, entirely different weapon. In the trailer, the hunter switched from a greatsword to a bowgun, which means if you want to play optimally, you would need to have bowgun skills equipped, even if you're just using a greatsword. This is why in some ways I didn't vibe with the switch skill swap as much as I hoped. For longsword in Sunbreak, I would have the special sheath on one scroll and the sacred sheath on the other. For special sheath, you want the skill quick sheath so you can quickly perform your counters. However, that skill is detrimental for sacred sheath because it actually shortens the window in which you can counter. This made switching between the 2 styles quite difficult because quick sheath meant only one could really be played well. Some will say, well, this will really force you to prepare and think about the skills you will bring. I don't know about that. The choice is between bringing 2 different weapons and being a jack of all trades, or bringing 2 of the same weapon and being a master of one. And to me it's just like, why would I want to limit my potential like that? It could still work pretty well though. Like if you're using dual swords and hammer, stamina skills synergize quite well between both of them. Fast charge is good for greatsword, but also a ton of other weapons too, so maybe I will be able to make it work. In any case, the combat. Combat looks great. I'm so interested to see what the deal with focus mode is. When I first read the description, I thought it was an accessibility thing. The wording said something about pinpointing weakness and making it easier for players of all stripes, and I was like, oh, that's a good option for some people who need it. But no, apparently it's more akin to like, I don't know, Valor style from Generations, as in, entering focus mode changes how you fight. The camera zooms in and you get access to new attacks. Like here we can see the hunter sprinting with a greatsword. And the whole targeting attacks on the monster weak point thing. I don't know what this is or how you initiate it or how you even leave the mode. It definitely seems to make you stronger, but what are the drawbacks? It's too early to say, but it seems to have a lot of potential. I wonder if this is how they'll incorporate a lot of the extra attacks we have in Rise and Sunbreak with the switch skills. Like maybe some of them become available during this. I guess we'll find out more later. By the way, it's really early to say, but apparently tenderizing is back. A fellow YouTuber and friend, Shincry, found out from the Japanese website that by repeatedly hitting specific monster parts, they'll become wounded, which turns them into temporary weak spots. Which is what the Clutch Claw did. This mechanic is called scratch in Japanese, but we may get a different localized term. Now, you probably all know my thoughts on the clutch claw. I don't like it, it's bad, and it made a really good game a lot worse. But this mechanic sounds a lot better. It's not a quick time event, it doesn't break the flow of combat, I highly doubt the Clagger will be there, all weapons will be equally capable as long as they can focus on a monster part consistently. If what we're reading is correct, this sounds pretty good. We need to know more obviously, but I think this could end up being a lot better. I'll probably do a follow up on the Clutch Claw video depending on how this mechanic plays out. The Windward Plains look really nice, although that name is a bit of a mouthful. I love the colours, way more vibrant than anything we saw in World or Rise. The map looks way more open than prior locales too. I mean that in the sense of, when you look at the World or Rise locales, they're still structured like the older games. Individual areas with pathways separated by barriers. Rise lets you climb those barriers at least, but Wild seems to have just removed most of them entirely, leading to very open spaces. So much so that the giant ruins in the distance can be seen from seemingly almost anywhere. I really hope we get to visit them like we could in Rise. The way they change states is interesting, even more so when they confirm that it will affect what kind of monsters will appear. We know that the change can happen in real-time gameplay, which makes me wonder how long these states will last. Will it dictate which quests we can accept? There's a lot of questions. If the locales are more open this time, it makes me wonder how big they are. The Windward Plains seem to have a large cave area, but it does not seem nearly as multi-layered as, say, the Ancient Forest. So will it be really big in surface area? I also wonder how many total locales we'll get. 5 is the standard, but if they're big, detailed, and with multiple changing states, we might get less, maybe 4 or even 3, which could be a worthwhile sacrifice if the locales are more detailed. I don't have much to say about the characters, other than that visually they look massively better than Worlds. Comparing them side by side, it's kind of apparent that the developers have gotten a lot better at rendering eyes, so now they look a lot less creepy. This was also kind of the case with Rise and Sunbreak, but Wilds takes it a step further. I really like the outfits too, they feel rather modern, and I'm curious to see if the monster armors will be like this too. In terms of the characters themselves, Alma seems cool, not that much to say about her just yet. She will be accompanying us into the field, just like our old handler, so let's hope she doesn't keep putting herself at risk again. Gemma is Little Miss Forge from 4 Ultimate, or at least all signs point to that being the case, which means wow, how long has it been since that game? She's way older now. Oh, by the way, I'm so glad that they're still naming the characters like they would in Rise. It took them way too long to start doing that, and I'm glad they're continuing. We saw the Ace Lancer from 4 Ultimate, and he's a lot older too. Are we going to see Nadia? Or Julius? It seems likely. Maybe not even in this game, but it will happen. There's this character that they teased called Nata? I don't know. A child who seems to have story significance. Based on the trailer, I get the impression that his people seem to have gone missing. Maybe his village or family. I'm basing this entirely on Gemma saying,
I hope we find them soon.
And an immediate cut to him. We really need to know more. Then there's the Hunter. I really like how this default one looks. Obviously the vast majority of us are going to change his or her appearance, but for the trailers it's going to be this guy, which will be cool. I myself won't even have to change him all that much. The Hunter can talk, like in Rise, but this time in the cutscenes too, which is kind of massive. Is he going to have conversations with the characters? That's interesting. The Hunter is normally a silent protagonist, right? The voice lines were a gameplay thing in Rise, but you had the option to turn them off. I don't see how that's going to work when the character is potentially speaking full sentences. It might have been a matter of time, to be honest. It's hard to have a full story with a silent protagonist. Usually they have some kind of side character that accompanies them to handle all the dialogue. Like in the Zelda games, there's usually a companion, and in recent Monster Hunter games we've had the handler and Naviru. And lots of people don't actually like these characters, so maybe our Hunter having more agency could make for a better story. But I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the Palico. She spoke. A full sentence.
This is gonna be great!
That's bizarre. The thing about Monster Hunter Palicos is that they've always spoken English. We've just been reading it from text, but that's why there's cat puns. Meowing is their native language, but they can speak English. But in Monster Hunter World, they don't do that. The cat chef speaks in meows, as does the grandma cat. Everyone else speaks normally. Monster Hunter Stories already had Naviru and the numbers speaking full sentences by then, so it seems like the developers did not want to commit to doing it in the main game. So I guess people just assumed that it was a Monster Hunter Stories thing, because the numbers in that game are experimented on. But then Stories 2 gives us Tsukino, who also speaks in full sentences. My concern here is, are they going to keep doing the cat puns? The cat puns worked because when written, you can imagine a cute little kitty saying them. When spoken out loud, they sound cringe. Naviru uses cat puns and in English they don't really sound the best. Tsukino is played completely straight. she just talks normally.
Don't jump to conclusions. Is it a harmful power? We don't know that yet.
The Wilds Palico specifically is talking in a very cutesy voice. I have no doubt that we'll be able to customize it, but I don't think it will sound good if she's using cat puns too. It just reminds me too much of a specific type of person. I really hope there's an option to just have regular cat meows. I'm a little bit concerned about multiplayer in this game. In the trailer, you can see a cutscene transition seamlessly to gameplay. Pretty cool, right? Well, that was the case in World, and it stopped you from playing multiplayer until everyone had witnessed the cutscene, which made playing through the story with friends a giant pain. The cutscenes were not skippable either. Iceborne did not fix this issue, and Rise instead just put the cutscene at the start of the quest. This fixed the issue, but it meant the hunter couldn't be involved in a lot of the monster introductions, which perhaps limited the story. I really hope they've sorted it out for Wilds. It's probably one of the worst parts of World, and makes multiplayer a complete pain. So those are my thoughts on the Monster Hunter Wilds first trailer. I might start streaming again for future trailers and presentations. I'm curious to know what everyone else in the comments thinks. Remember to like and subscribe, and have a good day.